framing the topic of social media addiction. Hello, welcome to Six Chain Therapy. I'm DJ Mayday.
And I'm Professor S, also known as Stephen Welch, and psychotherapist.
AKA Bearer of the Mind Stone. AKA Suffering Succotash.
You know what? We didn't rehearse none of this. I don't know what the bleep you're saying right now.
I've been practicing that all week, so let me get that off. If it doesn't work, I'll cut it out. So
It doesn't work.
all right, it doesn't work.
Okay.
So today we're going to talk about. Go after you, sir.
Social media and its influence on us as people.
Framing the topic of social media addiction. So we're going to go with a quick definition of addiction and see how it falls in with a kind of our social media thing. So addiction is when you have a strong physical or psychological need or urge to do something or use something. It is a dependency on a substance or activity, even if you know it causes harm. It can also impact your daily life. So that's like a short synopsis of what addiction is.
That's a nice general statement. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've all been like addicted. I feel like we're all kind of addicted to social media.
Yeah, in some form or fashion.
Yeah, and it's I don't.
It also depends like how we're using it, right? So, you know, can I just throw out some stats for a second?
Go for it.
I'm sorry, if you see me looking, I'm looking at stats. So one of the there was a research that was titled by Pew. Pew is PEW, a research in 2021, and they stated that 82% of Americans 30 and under use social media. So also just in general for my research that social media, 88% of us use social media in general. 80% is for information, for pastime 76%, entertainment 64%, for relaxation 60%, and FOMO, fear of missing out.
It's called FOMO.
Which leads to social fatigue in terms of that. And in our resources or links below, it'll state where that is from.
Well, just on my like basic use of social media, I feel like social media does tend to suck you in, and it does become addictive. But I feel like because of the generation I'm from, Generation X, that you know.
And I'm a baby boomer. Just to put it in context.
Yeah, I'm not as addicted. I can put my phone down.
I'm an old fart. He's a younger fart. Yeah.
Less older fart.
Okay.
But I feel like
you don't smell as bad.
No, as you do. That's too much information you're putting out there,
really
my bro.
Is too much information, especially as a psychotherapist. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you're fucking doing your work from Zoom.
But why has to be fucking? Why can't you just say? Go ahead.
So anyway, as a person from a generation where we didn't grow up with social media, right? I reached full adulthood before social media really came out,
and I had no social media at all growing up. So
yeah, so I think
we used a phone book. The phone had a wire to it. You know what I mean? If we had to look for something or somebody's phone number, we had this thick book like this to go over where to find people and where to find a business.
Well, on that note, we didn't have social media, so a lot of our relationships and likes and dislikes and friends were real. You know what I mean? So
like it's internal. It came from inside ourselves, not something external per se, right?
Right, and then now we you know, in those days, earlier days, I had maybe 15 friends, right? Now I have, according to Instagram and Facebook, I probably have like 800 friends, right?
And I have friends too, yeah.
But that's not necessarily true or the case.
Right.
So, but being from our generation, I think I have a kind of bird's eye view on the younger generations, what they're kind of seeing and what they're doing. And I have younger teenage kids, and I'm watching what they're doing and how they're going through it and how they're using it.
Right.
It's very different from how I grew up. You know, like for instance, I would go to a party and I'll wild out. I'll dance, maybe drink too much, do whatever I'm gonna do.
So,
And I have no fear.
Bachata and merengue
Salsa at
and
the time.
salsa.
Salsa at
Okay,
the time.
whatever. You know.
Yeah, but I noticed that with the younger generation, that they know that could be recorded at any time.
Right.
They can be
Be recorded and record.
yeah, and
Right.
record at any
Pull
time.
out that phone.
So that having that looming on you,
Right.
I think is a very different feel for social media. You know, for the youth and for just coming up in this
There's a
generation.
record. There's a record of what you're doing or what you're not doing, and also there's information that you're putting out there that otherwise people would not know.
Right.
Compared to like our time.
Our generation. Like if you were labeled a hoe back in the day, it was a rumor that would live maybe for a year or two,
Right.
or while you're in high school,
And then
max,
it's gone, right.
then it's gone. But if you got labeled a hoe on the internet,
and you're 42 years old, and somebody could just pull out a video
your
of you
whole
going
days,
around,
yeah,
right?
it's not good. So
Like with the Cat Williams thing, I know that's not what we were talking
No,
about,
go for
but
it.
like with Cat Williams, who's kind of outing all these comedians about taking their jokes and movies and so on, and people who are watching the show, which is on Shay Shay, by the way. Shay Shay is a
Shannon Sharp show.
yes, exactly. And folks were pulling up stuff that Cat Williams was saying, so there was always a video receipt of everything that he said. When people watched it, they were like, okay, yeah, this one stole a joke. This one did say that. So everything Cat said in that interview, not only did he pull it up, but the people watching pulled up every receipt, video, what people said.
Yeah,
And
they didn't
so
even have
you
to
can-
verbally or physically
They didn't have to physical verbally. It was all
rebuttal.
right there. Yeah.
It was all there. So they just like took clips.
And that's the difference between our cyber world, social media world, and now, and us back in the past.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we definitely didn't have those problems. And as my kids started to grow up, I think my oldest got her phone when her first phone when she was 10,
Oh wow!
maybe 11, somewhere around there. And it was by demand. She had wanted a phone. All her friends, her kids had friends
You
have
had to
phones
have
and
it,
this and that.
yeah.
And I was like, no. I kept saying no. But it was like such a thing that she wanted. And at the time, there wasn't as much information.
Right.
And, you know, talking about how addictive and how, you know, the impact on young people.
Yeah.
So I made that you know, I think a mistake that everybody made at that time was, take your smartphone.
It's a judgment call in the moment where we didn't have enough information to look at what the long-term
Right.
effects would be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you want to talk to the impact of social media and smartphones on the youth
Well,
right
okay,
now.
yeah, sure. I think one of the things is that I think for youth as well as for adults is this idea of comparing, right? Because we compare with, okay, I don't wear this, or I didn't go to Fiji, I wasn't in Jamaica. Next, you know, we're looking at, or me as an older person, right? When you see folks maybe that considered my age with like buff bodies, but you don't think about, oh, they're taking steroids, you know what I mean? But yet I don't have a body like that. So just me as an older person, I can only imagine for younger people, you know, you don't have the BBL, you don't have the breasts, or you don't have, you know, the money.
sneakers, the money,
yeah,
exactly,
sneakers, yeah.
all that stuff.
So the comparing, right?
Yeah.
And then that also contributes to like a negative sense of your self-image. Like, I don't measure up to that. I'm not what is being presented or projected out there. One woman's channel was talking about how one of these individuals in one of the reality shows, that how their image, their face, their body, this is like the thing that people aspire to. So the narrow waist, the bottle, what do you call it, the Coke bottle shape, and so that wasn't really a thing, let's say 20 years ago,
Right.
but it's a thing now. So the idea that if I don't have something, I can go to Mexico or Dominican Republic or Korea even. I saw one about Korea, and get that body. So
Yeah, I mean, for instance, like when I scroll on social media, and I don't know why this is, but I'll scroll and it's starting to feed me stuff that I feel like, wait a minute, how did you even know? I did that I was searching that on Google,
Right.
or I would be looking at something and I'm like, wait a minute, I was looking
Yeah.
that up at
How did that
B&H.
show
Like,
up?
how did that show up
Right,
on my
right.
social media? And then, you know what? I get suspicious. And remember, I'm from a different generation, so I didn't grow up with it. So me seeing that makes me suspicious of it.
Right, right.
And so I have like a natural
Suspicious.
yes,
Like, right?
yeah, like
conspiracy.
yeah, I
It's
don't
a
like about
conspiracy
it.
then, yeah.
So I don't feel like I have that same addiction. I could leave my phone home, and I do it often. And but kids can't do that.
Right.
Like when they're away from
Right.
their phone, they're straight jittery, like
Right.
they're not getting their fix.
And I think for me, it's not the only place, but like sometimes even when I watch something on mental health and the person is like presenting, various aspects of, let's say, depression or something to do with mental wellness, I'm like, well, why can't I have a video channel like that, or how come
Right.
I didn't know it to that degree? So am I a good therapist? Do I know? So it creates like that. And so I had to be very mindful of that as opposed to looking at it as an educational piece for me to say, okay, let me investigate these other aspects of a mental wellness issue and say, get more information for me, which I do that. But sometimes in the moment, I feel like, well, do I know enough? So yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other aspect of it too is like sometimes I'm watching, like I'll look at, I barely look at Facebook, but when I do, I'm like, I could straight hunt you down and find your whole entire family. Like that aspect of it is for me is like a little disturbing. I don't like the fact that if I wanted to, I could pretty much find anybody I wanted to. That to me is like a little unsettling. You know what I mean? But then again, we have a YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
And we're part of it too. And just to share a personal example, I don't follow Facebook that much either, but I got found by a distant cousin from Barbados that I'm part of this larger family. And tonight we were supposed to actually have a video chat tonight, but I couldn't, I didn't have enough time to get to it. But they found me and we're really connected. Like there's facts and what do you call it, receipts?
Yeah.
There's tons of receipts that we're related.
You know what? That's amazing,
But that's
though.
never been part of my psyche at all when it comes
Well,
to
I think
Facebook.
that's some of the great things about social media and technology in general.
Yes,
Like we
yes.
can move forward with information and really kind of like we could change the world, but we're kind of there's like two paths, right? There's
Right.
there's really good information that we're getting and education that we're getting. We're getting it faster than ever before, or even faster than school can give it to us. But we also have this kind of like
It's almost like the dark side. It's
Yeah.
like it reminds me of the Force,
yeah,
right?
it's like-
The dark side of the Force, and then there's a Force that you could use for good. Yeah,
and then you
That's
have
really-
this kind of negative impacting social media. Let's
Right,
say I don't think the intent is to be negative a lot of the times, but it just has this negative intent.
And which goes back to what you were saying with the algorithm, right? The algorithm is what generates it kind of generates what you're used to do, what you're used to looking at, the context and the content, and the programming will pick up on your pattern and then generate content accordingly, which is also connected with the advertisement. So a lot of what's going on is driven by our capitalist society that generates, because you're seeing ads that are related to what you're doing. So a lot of what's driving the social media is money, what's being made from it.
Yeah.
So can I get into, I'm sorry, can I
No,
get
go,
into
go,
a little bit about some other factors about social media? So another one is feeling like you're missing out on something, right? Like, I didn't go to Fiji, I didn't go to Tahiti, I wasn't in Puerto Rico, I didn't go to Paris. And then you see either friends or people in other countries, and I can't afford to go to that place, or I've never been there, or I would really love to go there.
And you don't, but
yeah.
you don't even get the backstory. Maybe they saved up 5 years to go on that trip, but you're just seeing it right now.
Or even worse, they never were there.
Right,
Because with technology, right, I can look like I'm there and I really wasn't.
right, for sure.
Which
for
is
sure.
always, you always see something on the internet where they show you the person, they look like they're sitting on a plane, but they're not on the plane. It's just a piece of a backdrop that looks like a plane.
But people do that all the time. Like
All the
even
time.
semi-celebrities will
Yeah.
stand in front of a private
Yeah,
plane,
yeah,
not
yeah.
even getting on the plane.
Yeah.
Right? So it happens all the
Yeah.
time. I have a video that was
Yeah.
scraped from the internet that kind of really talks to this.
Yes.
So I just kind of want to play it really quick.
Yeah.
The more time you spend on social media, the more negatively it impacts your mood. Everyone knows that we have good days and bad days. But what do I see when I log on to social media? What I see is one person had a birthday party today. Look at how many people are having fun. And the next day, I see another birthday party where everyone is having fun. And the next day, I see another birthday party where everyone is having fun. Now, each person only gets one birthday a year. But every time I log on to social media, what rises to the top is what is liked the most, where people are having the most fun. Does that kind of make sense? So every time I log on, what I'm seeing is the best moment of 365 lives. And then what it gives me the impression of is everyone is out there having fun all of the time. And I only get one birthday a year, but everyone else is having so much fun all the time. So it creates this false sense that everyone out there is living this perfect life, whereas my life is just ordinary.
That's
and
how my
in the
life
face
looks.
of a perfect life, ordinary lives feel depressing. The more time
That's
you
it.
spend on something.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's awesome.
How true is that?
That's awesome. So that scene where the person's laying in bed with the phone on, the light in her face, I'm like, okay, that looks like pieces of my life, where it sometimes it helps me go to sleep, but really psychologically and for my brain, it actually is keeping you up. Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that how curated people's
Yes.
sites and
Images
yeah,
and things like that.
Yeah, their
create
photos
to us.
photos can be retouched. Photos can
Yeah.
be filtered. Images can be cropped.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what we do here.
Right.
So like,
Can I just add something to the
Yeah,
whole
absolutely.
filtering stuff? I like watching, I look at pictures of even people that I know, or if it's a celebrity, I'm like, they're not that light skinned. They're my complexion. What the hell is this? Or their nose doesn't look like that. So just the idea that it can actually alter almost your ethnicity
oh, for
to
sure.
a certain degree. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's just an aside.
Yeah, so it's all impactful. And also, there's another video that I kind of want to show only because for the shock value. Because when I first saw it, I was
Oh yeah, that's
actually
right.
fully disturbed, and it's of a child who is sleeping.
Well, let them look at it.
Oh yeah. So this kid is scrolling in his sleep. Yeah, so he's literally sleeping about scrolling. It's like my dog who's like, when he's sleeping, he's like, he's
Right.
kind of running, in his sleep, or kind of howling or wagging his tail. It's literally becoming a part of the subconscious almost,
Right.
it feels like.
And for the children, for the parents as well, as if the kid is like bored or they're acting up, you just give them a tablet to play with something. Next, they're on, may not be social media, it might be a game, but it's still creating that link to be occupied using a screen, right?
In those parents' defense, I was one of those parents. You know what I mean? Like, my kid would act up, I would hand him a pad or something. But you got to understand, like, as when the kid's growing up, you hand them a ball, or you hand them a doll, or you hand them a toy,
And that's
and there wasn't enough information to know how much,
right.
what the impact was of social media. And I don't
Right.
think it's still fully understood completely.
Yeah. Well,
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think they should put an age restriction on social media?
Well, first of all, I think the basic answer is no, only because there is no way to control that whatsoever. In fact, that brings me to an author someone that wrote. Her name is Dr. Kim Johnson. She's associate professor of nursing from Middle Georgia State University, and she was talking about that some of the things you could do to limit, right, or whatever she thought was some steps to take, was that there should be policies that makes it harder for images of children to be downloaded and widely spread. Another one is to ban 18-year-old and lower or younger to have to make private sites public, like access to a private site and make it public. And another one is to stop the deliberate cycle of virtual affirmation to buy products. So her stuff makes sense, but
Yeah, that does
when you
make
think
sense.
of
That
the
whole product
capitalism, when you think of capitalism
They're not gonna let
or
that
even the freedom, our rights, to me that upends what she's saying. So it didn't quite. It made sense from where she was coming from, but I don't think policymakers are really. It's like artificial intelligence. It's too late. You can't really make too many policies around social media? I mean, I guess you can, but
I think you definitely can. I feel like you can.
what kind of policies do you think could be made on social media? Go ahead. I'm just a thought.
I mean, I think I don't know enough about it, but I think if you can, I think it'll start at when you buy the phone. I think when you buy the phone, it's 18 and under. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
and the
you
phone will
can-
have to have regulations.
Okay, but then I could take
Locked in on it.
But I could take Joe Schmo's phone, right? My classmate, and look at her or his phone. It's not my phone.
No, but-
it's their phone, and
Hey.
I can look at whatever sites and stuff. Or let's say another one of my classmates, their phone doesn't have any limitations, and I go, oh, let me look at what you're doing. I mean,
Right. But also, I think like if you make it kind of law, I think in the way that alcohol, you got to be 21 to drink. I think
But
yes,
I-
you're gonna
but I-
have
but I can
people.
still drink- I can
yes,
still
you're
get
gonna
access.
have kids who are gonna do it.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna have kids, but you're gonna have a nice chunk of them that aren't gonna do it, and maybe you can build a
I
culture around
disagree
that.
because when you say a nice chunk, that might be like 4%. That's not a nice chunk because anybody. I mean, go back all the way to the 70s where somebody would say, "Hey, could you buy me some beer?"
70s was different.
Well, that's when I was around.
The 70s was different.
But that's, I mean, the 60s, 50s. I mean, you go all the way back. But I'm just saying, there's ways around it, and young
Yeah, that's
people. We've all been teenagers. We know how to get around something to get something through somebody else. So
true.
I think that the cat is already out. The cat is already out the bag.
So do we put the responsibility into the social
on the
media?
individual, on yourself.
Oh, for sure.
You have to find the internal control to limit or to be your exposure. It has to start with, it could start with your parents to help with that, but most younger people are not listening to their parents. I mean, we at our age, we're not listening to our parents, so they're definitely not listening to us. But you can instill some values, but ultimately at the end of the day, when we're talking about our youth, they're the ones that have to, control. I mean, we can be the role models because if we as parents or the older people are constantly on social media, which we are, right? Then that's role modeling for them. They can just take it to a whole nother level. So it's complicated.
Yeah, and I've also seen like an anti-social media kind of movement happening, with the younger people, which is interesting.
As they say, where they do that at?
One of my kids is like super locked in.
Locked in meaning.
And I have another one doesn't have an Instagram page.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't have,
All right,
consciously doesn't have
okay.
these other things.
And that is her internal.
Yes.
It's her value. She
Yes.
recognizes
Yes.
what it is.
Because
Because
this is not making me feel good. This is crazy. And then she's just not doing it. Whereas the other one kind of enjoys it and kind of is submerged in it, I think so far relatively healthy, but what do I know? You know what I mean?
Can I just add two more things just
Absolutely.
about this whole thing? Is cyberbullying, because I think that's a really big thing, is cyberbullying. So, when you can make a video of someone and showing them in maybe not a favorable light, or you can manipulate the video to make it look like the person is doing something that they're not doing, and then you upload it to, let's say, all your classmates or whatever websites, and then you come back to school the next day, you've got this thing all over the place. We can make you feel kind of depressed, angry.
I've experienced that.
Have you really? Tell me about it.
Not me personally, but
tell me an
my kids have experienced that.
Okay.
And maybe been on both ends of that.
Oh, okay, got you.
You know what I mean?
So
So,
absolutely.
and unintentional. I think as a kid, it's kind of like a kid. A kid will be honest and be like, "Hey, your breath stink." You know what I mean? Like they're not taking into the fact. Oh, I might hurt your feelings with that.
Right,
So
right.
they're not fully.
But if I'm filming it and I send it out, that's very different than, like, let's say when you were in high school and someone, you could say your breath stink, but then it stays right there. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Right. So, but I think that connection to how much they hurt each other with it
Yes.
is not fully developed or there.
Yes.
Understood. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I've been.
But then again, I don't know. I slightly disagree with you, because when you know how to use social media, I would know how to harass you.
right.
Or I can get a bunch of friends and we can sit down with the laptop or computer and figure out how we can harass you and cause
that's
you to
not-
feel bad about yourself.
That's not much different than in high school, in the lockers, kids harassing other
but
kids.
that's true. But the ability for it to go worldwide.
But that's my point. Like they don't see that it's
my
how
point
much
is that
farther it's
they
going.
do. That's my point.
They do,
A
but
lot
they
of
don't-
them do.
But they don't know the damage.
But a lot of them do. I think you've got some kind of, we are the world, we are the...
No, it's not. It's not. We are the world. It's my impression.
But I am told, but that's your impression. But don't forget.
Because
okay, look, let's put it this way, right? I have a website, right, for my practice. Somebody in Egypt contacted me about, am I seeing new clients? Now, it's not my intention to have somebody from another part of the world to find me.
Why not?
No, but my point is that it's not necessarily my intention, or maybe it's not even my awareness that it could go that wide. They just let me know that's how wide.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's my point. So if you're talking about wanting to make fun of a friend or whoever in high school or whatever, that can go all over the country about that kid.
Yes.
But that's my point. You're saying like, well, they don't seem to know.
No. They know that it can do that,
Right.
But they don't understand the impact.
But
of
that's
it.
my point. They do. That's what I'm saying. Okay,
maybe.
it might be at
Maybe,
your school.
maybe.
All right.
Maybe.
But then, so the other thing is, so we may have a different point, but I think they're both valid, actually.
I just don't think
Societal.
they see it. If you ask
Well-
them, hey, will this happen? Yeah, that'll happen. Will it go around the world? Yeah, it probably will go
You know
around
what?
the
Let
world.
me support what you just said. No, because I think you're absolutely right. Because what the whole social media does, especially with young minds, is that our prefrontal cortex, which is a part of our brain that regulates emotions, decision making, and impulse control, that part of our brain is not developed until our mid-20s. So below your mid-20s, your emotions, your ability to make, rational decisions or to control, impulses, that is still not formed yet. So to support what you said, if I'm that kid, I may not realize, this thing I said about you online is going to show up in Japan, right? So actually, you're absolutely right. And so, it also affects how we respond to cyberbullying, right? So we may be more stressed out about. We may respond in a certain way that if we're older, we may ignore it. You know what I mean? A younger person might say, you know what? Let me just get back at them. Not just limited to them. Folks our age could also be just as what do you call that?
Bullied?
Nasty,
Oh, for sure. For sure.
ratchet.
For sure. You know what's interesting too about the bullying thing? It's that it doesn't take much.
It does not take
Doesn't
much.
take. It
And
could be
last
a
time-
not a like, right? Like
Yeah,
like
exactly.
no likes.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
were crowned. I'm making this up
Yeah, whatever.
fully, but you were crowned. Queen for the day in your school, and no one liked it.
And then you feel bad that somebody didn't like it.
So it's like very binary, yes or no.
Mm-hmm,
Ones and zeros. You know what I mean? Positive or negative. So like it's a very.
By the way, I know this may be a little off the subject, but there's a series on Netflix called Black Mirror, and Black Mirror is all about this.
Really?
There's different ways, people manipulate
I've heard of it.
images, the social media. If you get a chance to watch Black Mirror, I think it's really great. They're not paying us for this advertisement, but it's a great. Maybe we should put it in one of our links.
Oh,
Put it in our links. So
You know, it was
yeah.
an interesting thing that I read too. That it was like there was a census taken in 2001. It was just an average census of 100 people. Like, how many friends did you have in 2001?
Oh, wow.
Ages between 25 and 35, and the average amount of friends were 10 friends.
Really?
Yeah, and the same census was taken in 2022, and the average amount of friends was 2.
I mean actual friends?
Close
not
friends,
online,
close friends. I'm sorry,
friends.
close friends. So the average amount of close friends was 2.
Right.
That's crazy.
But on social media, you have over 1,000, 2,000,
Right.
millions.
But it's more about the perspective of what the individual considers a close
a friend. Yes.
You know what I
follow
mean?
What you're saying.
So in 2001, we generally, based on the census, was we had 10 friends, close friends. In 2022, we only have 2.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's
That's
really,
wild,
It's really
so-
something. Yeah.
I mean, there definitely is like a seismic shift. I have here just one more video that we scraped from the internet. I just thought it's kind of talks about the next steps, right?
Your mindset about social media predicts your well-being more so than the actual amount of time that you spend on social media. It's really this belief of, am I fundamentally in control of my use? Can I use it to achieve my goals in a meaningful way? Or do I feel like I'm helpless to its influence or totally addicted? These beliefs or mindsets can actually be more important in shaping your well-being than the amount of time that you spend on it. Some things that I kind of recommend for people, just to kind of try out for yourselves if you want, is first developing that reflective questioning of your own social media use. So when you pick up your phone and you go on Instagram, really having that quick thought of, is this something that's serving my goals? Is this something that's meeting my needs? And is this something that I can better leverage to help me get to where I want to be?
I think that was it. So that's something I kind of do naturally, but I think it's because I'm a generation away. I wasn't brought up on this. Like when I use social media, I gotta have a reason for this. All right, this is my DJ thing. This is my DJ Instagram. Only DJ stuff. I'm not gonna put my personal stuff. I mean, you might catch a glimpse here and there of personal stuff, but for the most part, it's about the business in my mind.
Right.
And even this. Anytime I post something up, it's about this. You know what I mean? Right. It's not about personal stuff. So I try to use it in that way always. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I do what she does. How can this benefit me instead of it using me?
Right. And if I can kind of piggyback on that,
Yeah.
When you look at the folks of color, African American, Latino, other people of color, some of the positives is that it can amplify your voice, right? You can get certain things out there that otherwise, people wouldn't know, right? So like-minded persons, you may want to say there's an event, a cultural event around, natural hair care or particular
That's not something we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, well, I still have to take care of my bald head, but anyway. So there's that part, right? And then, there's ability to connect with people from a similar background. So if you have a similar background, like in the back, I think you can see our flags, right? So there's Barbados and there's Puerto Rico. So, the family that found me online, well, the Barbadian descent. These are my Barbados families, right? So it was a really wonderful experience. And another one is that it can connect us, but but the other thing is on the negative side, it can also expose us to like discrimination,
Yes.
and hate speech.
And I've
right?
thought about that. I've thought about that. Like I said, shit. Like I'm applying for this job. My full name, my full address is there. They can go on my social media and see that I'm a DJ. I'm an artist. And you know what I mean? I'm a YouTube. We have a YouTube show.
That's
I don't
right.
know
Everything
if that's
can be pulled up.
Yeah. So
anything can be pulled up.
and not that I'm embarrassed of any of that, but I just don't. I don't know.
But it's real. Some
Yeah.
employers, that's what they do. They
You can
look
see
at
my
your
face,
background.
and you may not. I'd be like, oh, I don't want him there.
Right, of course.
So
Or, oh my God, he's brown. Oh, I don't want a brown person. See, at least your last name is Vega.
yeah.
My last name is Welch. She's like, well, what the hell is a Welch? She's like, what is that? You can't, stereotypically, because that's the other thing, the negative.
What
side
Welch
of-
is it? I'm sorry. I mean, it's a British name or is it a?
It's a slave name, bro.
Wow, clearly.
I'm just saying.
Clearly. I'm just saying. But
No, it comes
it's a-
from. It's from. It's somewhat common or familiar in Barbados.
Okay.
The Welch, but the Welch is a slave owner's name, so it's not necessarily an African American, like say Jackson, Jones, which is really general. But my point is, Welch doesn't have like, oh, Vega, oh, they're Latino, right? Like Welch is like.
Well, the first.
It's like pieces of paper, like it's everywhere, whatever that is, right? So the thing is, though, it can create that level of discrimination. Or you could say, oh, Vega, we need a Vega here, right? We need a Latino here. We need to, or if your name is like, Shaquasia,
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Shaquasia?
Or Shaquanda. I mean, I'm just saying there's certain names that are actually discriminated against.
Oh yeah.
And it could be a family name, it could be just whatever it is, but it creates a certain impression online.
Well, there's this whole Airbnb, like it's been a controversy for years. Like,
What's up?
well, whether people accept you or don't accept you to stay at their place. You know, if you put
that's
that
all
name,
discrimination.
you put that ethnic
based
name
on
in
the
there.
ethnic name. Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
You know what I mean?
I was just thinking, like, if I was doing Airbnb in my name, they could just look me up. Like, at least on, you know what, like on Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
Because I bought things from Facebook Marketplace. They have your picture, because I've sold things, I've bought things. They have your picture. They have, like, not specific where you live, but at least the region of where you live. But they'll see your face. They'll say when you on, how long have you been on Marketplace? So I've been on there for like 2014. So you'll know, is this somebody new? Is this somebody that's been online for a long time? You see them. At least you'll see the image that they have. Right.
Right.
But I know that at least on the surface, if I'm going to sell something to someone, I know that they're real people. To the most part, we don't know, right?
Right.
So for the folks of color, or really anyone, but just I'm specifically thinking of, if you're of a minority group, so to speak, that the social media can also be used against you, but you can also connect with people. Can I just add something about that?
Go for it.
So me personally, right? So I'm from England. So I found a lot of things online and social media of the time that I was born and raised there till I came to this country. I saw a lot of videos of Caribbean people, how they live, certain products that we grew up with. And it just gave me like a sense of nostalgia. Or even in the 70s when I came to this country, that's still how old I am, bro. You weren't even born in 70, right?
No. Well, I was born in the 70s, but not.
Well, you were born when?
I'm not going to tell the whole world.
Well, let's put it this way. When he was in diapers, like I was a full-grown adult. I was a full-ass adult.
Hey, but you look good, all right? You still look good, so let's go.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's all that matters.
You gotta see what I'm doing. But anyway, like, I got to see things from my culture and things that I grew up with, but also I learned about African American history and things that they don't teach you in high school or even undergrad. I found all this stuff online. So before college, I have to read about it, right? Or you may have to go to the library, look up some things. But on social media, I found documentaries. I found, like the Tulsa riots, where they, destroyed this whole part of our country, which we don't even talk about, where we had African Americans that owned, they were doctors and lawyers and had businesses and all these things that you think are like, well, why aren't black people doing these things? You had a whole area, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they literally destroyed the community. Like literally they bombed it. They set it on fire. And this is like maybe 100 years ago or less. And we don't know about that, but I didn't learn that specifically, like I found out like from school. But to actually see people who are still alive
Interviews
and interviewed from that time, you wouldn't get that if it wasn't for social media.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great stuff
Yeah,
that comes
yeah,
out
yeah.
of social media, but there's also a lot of toxic stuff.
Yeah.
So I think like anything else, it's
how you manage yourself.
yeah, but it being bad and it being good, it's not true. It's probably somewhere in the middle, right? It always
Depends
somewhere,
how you use it.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. So like the next, I feel like, what do we do then, right?
What do we do? Yeah.
What's the actions that we can take to kind of, control social media, not let it control us? So that's some of the things that we're going to try to kind of go over right now. Yeah. So like number one is like keeping apps out of sight, so they're out of mind. You know what I mean? So like kind of put the phone away, or don't always focus in on the apps. Maybe even turn off your notifications. Like I understand that like you can't do that to everything, right? Like we need our emails from work. We need to, there's a different
Can
things.
I just share this too? Like I have a client who, when they're talking, this is online, when they're talking to me, their laptop is literally, or their thing is open, and they're actually responding, like they're typing as they're looking at me. And so part of the work of the therapy counseling work is make time for the session. Close your laptop, turn off your desktop. And so there's that limit setting. So
so it's like, turning off your notifications can help. Maybe not to everything, but if you can turn off some of the things to keep focus, right? So and there are apps out there that can help limit your social media time. So another thing you can do, and this is something that again I do naturally, you know, but I feel like maybe this generation doesn't do. So spend an hour a week, at least an hour a week, on at least one screen-free hobby. So that's very interesting. Like, so you like
okay, like
maybe you take up knitting. I don't know,
working out, the gym.
you know, but even sometimes
Going
at the
to a
gym.
play- going
Have you
to
ever
a
been to the
play.
gym? You're waiting to use the machine, and there's somebody sitting on the machine.
Yeah.
Like
Right,
scrolling.
but like you're saying for yourself, that you don't do that.
Right.
Right, for yourself.
Right.
Right.
So,
yeah, I get you.
So
yeah.
just like 1 hour a week at the least. I mean, if this has to be done, you know,
that's great. That's doable.
put the screen away. All screens. So whether it's the computer, TV, or your phone. You know what I mean? Another thing that we should
What else
do,
we got?
and this is a big one.
Ooh,
This to me
yeah.
is a big one because I don't know how many times I've seen this.
Talk
but
about it.
Enjoy a phone-free dinner. You know what I mean? Like that sounds. Oh, that's easy. I'll just put my phone. I don't know how many times I go out to dinner. The whole family is looking at. Okay, oops. There was a little snafu in the video. So, just to continue on with the things you can do about to limiting your dependency on social media. We were talking about enjoying a phone-free dinner, so that was like huge for us. We were really kind of getting into it, and I'm sorry to say that the video went out, but you know, not having your phone during dinner, it allows you to connect with, you know, with the people you're with in a very human way. So this seems like a no-brainer. So I just wanted to add that one in, and one more is leaving your phone outside the bedroom. So just to have that phone away from you, that light away from you, just to not mess with your circadian rhythm. We're always talking about circadian rhythm, your body's ability to judge when it's time to go to sleep and when it's time to stay awake. So it's important to do and to keep it away and allow you to get to sleep, right? How many times do we stay up, you know, scrolling unconsciously? So, you know, that's another good thing. Hey, sorry, Stephen, about the video. But thank you for listening to 6 Chain Therapy. Peace.